Because with the share swapping which takes place or whatever deal has happened, uh, probably they are looking at a joint strength which probably not only consolidate, that is a better word to put it, consolidate strength of both the parties, but also address a bigger market. They can go globally with their individual products together. That can be one of the
In the end, there are two companies who are working on the same idea coming together. Not exactly the same idea, but like they're probably the same problem statement, maybe with different key propositions, and they come up with a common company with the different features combined. So again, the same question remains: are the ideas saturated? Like solving a problem. Like, do you think in the market there are so many problem statements that the startups can think of getting into entrepreneurship?
you are asking a question whether startup. What was the last part of the question?
That the young people who want to start their ventures as entrepreneurs, the constant thought running into them is which problem are they solving? Like any startup will think of a problem statement first with the problem which they are solving. So like they think that most of the problems are already solved. So what is your word to guide them if they think that the industry is saturated? Is what my concern is.
There are a lot of problems still existing in the market. So it's not that, I don't see a startup's main motivation should be, they should be looking at problems around them. Okay, it can be a simple process which is probably getting solved today without using a technology. If the same problem can be addressed using a technology, then there is a scope for some startup to come up with a solution. Okay, like if I have to give you an example, before Ola and Uber came, we all were riding, calling for taxis and autos. So it was a manual process, and there were a lot of teething problems in that entire process of you calling in auto, he refusing, then there will be a lot of other things, factors. What Ola or Uber came and they got in a technology wherein it was facilitating both the riders as well as the drivers to come together and simplify that process. Okay, till the time the entire transaction loop is closed. Okay, so there may be so many problems like this which you may not have thought of. Like for instance, again, extension of the same use case which I was just giving. There are these two edtech companies which we are getting together in a merger deal. Now both are solving edtech problems. Okay, but when they decided or when we actually got this merger deal negotiated and we made this happen, suddenly we realized that coming both these entities together is solving a larger problem of job tech, or providing job to the people who have already probably gone through some courses either from this entity or that entity, and they are ready for a job. So now both of them are coming together to probably solve a bigger problem of giving jobs to people. And that is very much possible with the kind of data, the analytics, there are a lot of other things which have built over the years. If they bring this together, they are actually solving job problem for youths. So you never know what will happen with your idea, and you will probably, or where you will get an exit, or probably ultimately what you will be solving. You may start with a small idea which will grow, evolve, and probably addresses larger problem, larger issue at a later date.
Just add to it in a simple way. Problem statements may never saturate. If we say that a addition to an existing service which is adding value, let's say Ola and Uber as the same example, there are certain issues with Ola and Uber also. Now there's a third company by the name of Blue Taxis or something which has come up. So we could see that, okay, Ola and Uber tried to solve a problem. They had a problem statement which created another problem statement which is solved by a third person. So it is not a saturation that you can see. If we can pinpoint an existing system, upgrade it, or rather add more value to it, it's still okay. You cannot say that, okay, lights were there. Earlier we had this diya wala light, and then came the filament light, and then came tube lights, then came LED lights. So we said we are solving the same problem of having light, but in a different and more value added way. So it's not going to saturate that way. It's going to be evolving. Cars started with basics, and then we have the EVs of the world. So
like, again, the same thing, like, I'm sorry for bothering you for this question, but like, as you mentioned, like, there's another company come up which is solving the same problem which Ola and Uber is solving with more value propositions added. So like, Ola and Uber are like big companies in the market. So what is, like, sometimes the startup coming up with a new idea with added value propositions might think that the big companies would add this feature like more easily, and they already have their customer segment. So what thought on it?
What's stopping them? I mean, they are not the bigger companies. If the problem was so easy to solve, they would have solved it long back, or they would have thought of it with so many engineers working for them, such a strong strategic partnerships which they have got. If the problem was so easily solvable, they would have solved it. If some young entrepreneur has come up with an innovative solution which probably the biggies have never thought of, or they have probably ignored, or they don't think that it's a bigger issue to be solved at this stage, there is still a scope. They should give it a try.
I'll just add to it. The advantage that a startup has, it's compared like a bigger ship and a smaller motorboat. A startup is a motorboat. They can turn very easily. For turning a ship, which is a large conglomerate, it takes time, it takes approvals, it takes decisions. So there is a more agility in a startup which can quickly take a head start and change the direction very easily to make the difference. So a bigger ship can be compared to a large Uber, Ola's kind of thing. It will take time to take the decision. But these guys who are a startup can take a quick decision. If wind favors them, they are at a better pace.
Oh, thank you. So moving on, opinions about funding winter.
I recently saw a video of Dr. Saurabh Bhatia on funding winter. So, yes, if I compare the deals which happened last year, same time, and compare it with this year, there is, yes, 10% of the volumes have been done of the last year, if you compare. Okay. So obviously there is a slowdown. I won't deny the fact, or I won't try to defend it. But the deals are going on. There are fundings which are happening. There are merger and acquisitions which are happening. As we speak, I have got almost 7 deals in pipeline, which are either in final stages of negotiations or the final due diligence stages, or waiting for the SHAs to be signed. So I am not seeing a very drastic dip. If the idea is good, if you have a strong value proposition, there is always going to be an investor. Okay. So it doesn't mean that the investors have suddenly disappeared from the market. Okay. The investors are there. The money is there. You just have to have a strong idea to compel them or convince them to put the money at this stage of probably the economy where it is today. Lastly, I would like to say that, in fact, this is the best time to start a startup, because nothing can go wrong. Okay, if you are looking at only funding as your objective, then I will advise you better don't start now. Okay. But if you are seriously solving some problem, if you are seriously solving, looking at, have a technology innovation which you think is going to change, something, I think so this is the right time because anything going forward is always going to be positive. There can be nothing worse than this.
Just add to it quickly. I was discussing with Mr. Amit just before in the morning that this word funding came into existence after the word startup came into picture. In our days, I mean, I'm not too old, but in our days, it was not funding. Funding was never in the picture. We had to struggle to get the next month's salaries out. And we could not depend on something like, okay, somebody would fund someone and then we would want to pitch things. Our pitch was to our customers. Our pitch was never to an investor. So if we see in this particular scenario, there's a lot of demand-supply gap. There are many people asking for funding. And obviously when we see that, let's say there are 100 sweaters and there are 1,000 people requiring a sweater. Obviously you can feel the winter. All those who are good and would get a sweater. So that's how the winter can be taken care of.
Okay, sir. So, like, there are many investors who invest in loss-making startups. So, what do they see in them?
Okay, so there are two ways to look at things. Always the equity investor who is coming in is not looking at the revenues which are coming in today or what are they. See, obviously, the investors have started looking at the revenues or what you're making out of this business, out of the startup idea. However, I always look at the valuation which they are creating. Okay, and the valuation can be different from a revenue making proposition. So there are a lot of deep tech ideas with us which are not going to make revenues for the next 5 years, 7 years. Okay, but still investors are investing in that. Okay. So equity investors typically in a startup, they know that this is a startup and they are going to need money right now to develop a product, to bring in some tech innovations, to get that product evolved, take it to the market, a lot of changes, and then they will start making money. Till the time they don't go to the market or they don't start selling it, they are not going to make revenue. So for that 18 months, 24 months, 36 months, they are obviously going to make losses. Okay. So startup investors are not really looking at what revenues they are making today, but do they have potential to make revenues? Okay, so that comes from how you have put in your numbers, how you are presenting your numbers, how you are actually convincing your investors that, hey, look, 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, I am going to take this company to this level. These are the revenues, and these are going to be the valuations. Okay. Now the equity investors, actually when they are investing in a startup, obviously at the early stage, the pre-seed, seed, pre-series, there are no revenues which can be seen. Okay. So what they are looking at, as I said, the potential to earn revenue from this idea and the valuation as on today. Okay, so these are the two factors. So valuation also, plays a very important role in that entire value proposition which is presenting to the investor. So I don't see, a startup as a loss-making startup or a profit-making startup. Yes, any startup which is making revenues or earning profits is a good thing. But if a startup is earning profits and he is making profits, actually there is no need for the startup to raise funds. Why will he raise funds? Because he's bootstrapped, he's making profits, he's good on his own. There are a lot of these startups you will see. Zoho is a prime example. There are startups which are making money, they don't require funding, they are not inviting investors. In fact, I a lot of times jokingly I say that When you are going to an investor to invest, ask for money, you are actually inviting a boss in your startup. So, do you actually want a boss or you want to be your own boss?
Completely agree. When we talk about loss-making startups, we come across some startups which have started and they are not able to figure it out correctly. So they are loss-making, but they have a value proposition inside. Now, if we can identify what is causing the loss, is it a goof up by the founders, or is it a lack in the value proposition? If that loss causing thing can be identified, it is a good startup to look at if it is showing a higher valuation in future. If till the time we figure out what is the loss-making parameter, it is not a good idea to look at the loss-making scenario.
So again, talking about the valuation part. So like there are startups which have been like they have achieved great valuation and they've been declared as unicorns. But then why the fall in it? So what thought on it? Like there are startups which achieve a great valuation, which is like sufficient for to declare them as unicorns. But then there is fall in the valuation of the company.
So, Anmol said that that there are there can be various factors at why they are making losses. So you really need to look into what exactly has gone wrong, why they are making losses, or why their valuation is falling. But if you are pointing to the IPOs of Paytm and Zomatos of the world, I will not say that the valuation has fallen. The investor segment has changed drastically. So when they are raising investments from private equity investors or equity investors or VC funds, they look at the valuation regardless of the losses. There is no P&L, there is no balance sheet. Everything is assumptions. They are going to make money in future. And then there are various other parameters like data analysis, and other factors which they are going to. And then there are a lot of other things which probably you and me, the retail investors, don't see immediately because we don't get to see their pitch decks, their financial models, their valuations, say 5 years, 7 years down the line, basis the data which they have collected or basis the algorithms which they are developing. When the same startup actually is listed in an IPO, the investor segment changes from this VC funds who are experts in making financial decisions, who are looking at forward scenarios, all these things have actually raised their valuations and have invested at that level. When it actually goes to the public, it comes to people like you and me who may or may not have financial expertise to look at that kind of a future. And basis the demand and supply, their rates are, there is a level playing field which starts happening, and you will see this Zomatos and Paytms of the world, their shares start falling. Okay. Having said that, I will say this is the best time to buy Zomato or Paytm because when actually the investors who have invested early, the VC funds and this thing, their assumptions start coming through, the valuations is going to suddenly rise, and then that's the time everybody will realize, oh, I never saw this coming. So I hope that answers your question.
Understood.
It's pretty much covered everything out there. Say from an individual investor, we say kitna paisa bana raha hai, and that is not seen when we are investing in an IPO. You have to either, if you are investing, you have to dig deep into the company, see what is the future, because all these companies are having future valuations. We cannot say that they are having an existing current valuation. There is a difference between a top line and bottom line of the company. And majority of the times the startups fail on to identifying the bottom line. They are focusing on the revenue kitna ho raha hai. They do not see कि ये revenue लाने के लिए पैसा कितना खर्चा हो रहा है. So many times they are into loss.
Sorry. So, like, and one last question. So, Um, what new law or action would you enact if you get a chance to do it, like in the entrepreneurship, for the startups?
Law means, I mean, from the governance perspective.
In general, like what change do you think?
I think so. What is happening today is very good. I don't think so. There is anything to be changed over the last 7 years. That what we have seen, the startup ecosystem is evolving. I think so. The government policies, the industry outlook, the investor support, everything is, I think so, supporting the startup ecosystem. I don't see, and it is going at a very good pace. I don't see any drastic changes which needs to be done or which I see lacking today.
See, as a law, I would recommend the startups to focus on, let's say, we all have washed utensils in COVID times. So scenarios that we need to understand from the fact that the utensil has to be clean from inside and not from the outside. Outside chalta hai. But if it is clean, the systems are correct from the inside, the startup is going to grow. Majority of the times, the startups which we are seeing nowadays, the t-shirt, the mug, and everything is brand built. Internally, the systems are weak. And that's a major thing which a startup should understand, that under se strong hona hai. Before you showcase yourself as a big, nice logo, nice business card and so on. Say, it's a simple utensil business. If your utensil is clean from inside, you have to take more care of that. Bahar se chalta hai. So, that's what is the advice to startups.
It was really a great example. So, I think we have various investors present in the audience as well. So, I would like to hear one by one their investment stories, and then we can move ahead with the Q&A session. So, you guys can like. Yeah. Thank you so much. The first one is Dr. Saurabh Bhatia, the founder of Startup Kira. Sir, can you please give a few words about your investment journey?
Thank you. I'm Dr. Saurabh Bhatia. I'm an investor and a startup mentor. Actually, investment less, mentoring more. So I have invested only in 3 startups. And the example that, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, Amol? Amol. So the example that Amol gave, that actually rings very close, that majority of startups these days, they are focusing much more on the flash outside than having internal systems or even understanding the internal systems. So even after investment, they require a lot of mentoring to get the business processes straight. Otherwise, they just don't know what to do, and they are just looking at examples of Bezos and Elon Musk and all starry-eyed about it. So that has been my experience also, including the startups which I have invested in. And one thing I also wanted to mention, what Rashmi had asked, was about the valuation part of the companies or the loss-making startups. So I don't usually see a startup whether it's making profit or loss. My theory is that the startup should be able to create some product which is a pain in the ass for some big company or the leader of that market. That would actually persuade that big leader either to acquire them or if they are good enough. And if they are not, then they won't make profit also and they won't get acquired also. So the product innovative part has to be such that it will make a mark in that particular industry, whichever they are doing, even if they are not making profits. Data can be used, or if they are making a dent into somebody else's profits, they will come together and buy them out. So loss making doesn't make much of a difference as long as the product can make a dent in the market. think I've spoken more than what Rashmi wanted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next one is Mr. Amit Rawat, Startup Mentor, Business Strategist and Strategic Investor. Please, sir.
Hi, good morning all. Thanks for inviting me first of all, and good initiative because being a chapter lead of Head Start Network Foundation India, we have chapters in like 24 cities, and now it's a good thing that you are actually moving out of IIT Bombay and putting up chapters in different cities, because you know the fad of startups has really picked up in the last 10 years. And you know, I often discuss with my friends, Vimit Amol, Saurabh Pingvi over LinkedIn, and so we have those startup Saturdays going on, and this is like the 15th year of Head Start, which is completely volunteer driven, and you guys obviously do it for the passion. The e-sales do it for a passion, but you have to kind of take it forward to the next level. What is the post engagement, post this event? How are you going to take it forward? Are you guys passionate enough? A lot of people have actually spoken about, but what lies at the core is the passion. Regarding to investments, I really didn't kind of think as the investment perspective, because just out of college I had picked up a job, and even then I had technically invested because I created a cyber cafe with my friend. We were doing the software engineering course, and we said, why don't we open up a cyber cafe? That was my first thing ever in a business. We didn't know the B of business, but we wanted to kind of make money because he was already into the computer business, and he used to come from a business family, so he had some knowledge about it. But like they say, 7 पुश्तों में हमारे यहाँ पे किसी ने business नहीं किया. So for 1,000 years we have been in the armed forces. So anything else doesn't make sense. Okay. Then came to the conclusion that okay, after you do your computers and everything, why don't you come on board? And I was helping my friends, and this was around post 2000 bubble burst, and we were trying to figure out what are the terms called business model, business revenue model, and a lot of other things which came down, like I was discussing with some of the colleagues here, coming from the Silicon Valley. And that is where probably 2006-07 was where Flipkart, an entity called Flipkart, got funded for the first time. And that is where we said, let's also start this, kick this up. And some years later, I found myself, being in the corporate membership, but always inclined towards earning that, that extra income and helping my friends out in the startup business. So I was invested in them, not monetarily. Even today, I don't have $1 million to invest. But it's been that kind of journey where they have picked up bits and pieces. Some of them crashed, started back again, went to the next level. Some of them got funded. This is like early 2004-05. So the first investments actually happened in a startup in 2004-05. Not many people know this. I would say my latest investment, again, not $1 million, a small one, is in a smart drones company. So it's been kind of a journey with them. And over the last 10 years also, I have kind of sat down with the startups, actual real time, not giving them just GAN on a whiteboard or a blackboard, but actually sitting and making strategies with them, going out of the field, doing those market research surveys, validation. And what has happened, what has changed in the last 10 years is individuals who had kind of exited from their earlier ventures. Now they are back into the system, like Saurabh, like so many others, using their own money or creating angel networks. So that has really helped. So every startup entrepreneur might not be lucky enough to get a funding from TAMSEC or Tiger Global or all the other VCs, but they are certainly getting help from the guys who have exited, made some money, and ready to give back to the ecosystem. So I belong to that particular generation, which is kind of now giving back, and we hope that this generation of startups doesn't do the same mistakes as we did or my colleagues did when they started. So that my 2 bits. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So the next one is Ms. Rashmi Khurana, CEO and partner, Tech Fortune VC.
So this is Rashmi and saying thanks to Rashmi. Good morning, all of you. I just want to understand, I understand in the front row we have the mentors and the advisors and the investors sitting. I guess in the rows below they're all students, right? Okay, so my 2 minutes is going to be focused on you guys. Right? Now, I started my career after my MBA way back in 95, right? I was part of a startup which was just a 4-year-old startup then, and now it's a $1 billion company, Microland. I've been part of the ecosystem, being part of a startup, helping startup ecosystem, and actually helping spot the entrepreneurs from zero to becoming $1 million in my career of 2.5 decades. I think there were a few very good thoughts and experiences shared by a few investors. I want to basically kind of just shake you a little bit and say entrepreneurship is not all that Suhana suffer, right? Don't do it for the reason that you will not have a manager to boss you around. Don't do it that you want to become rich. Trust me, it is none of this. It's actually very difficult to be an entrepreneur, right? Now, when you become a professional in a corporate sector, you basically master a skill, right? Either you are a sales or a delivery or a marketing and so on and so forth. Entrepreneur, according to me, is somebody who has all those, जिसको बोलते हैं ना 32 गुण, 32 के 32 गुण, right? You can't just get up and say, oh, I don't like sales, I will not do sales, I'll hire somebody. Entrepreneur doesn't have that choice. Entrepreneur has to have know-how of whether you like it or you don't like it, of every element which is necessary for a business. So आप ये मानिए कि आप entrepreneur is basically somebody who has all that qualities, whether it's in maybe 5% or 95%, but he has or he or she has it. There is no excuse for it, right? You can build all those complementary skills, but us level tak पहुंचने के लिए that you hire somebody, you need to be there, right? So I was actually very amused and overwhelmed when we were talking of acquisitions and mergers in a startup platform, and I was saying that's actually a very happy stage to be in. पहले वहाँ तक पहुँच तो जाओ, वहाँ तक पहुँच गए. So there is a lot of possibilities, right? Why you do what you do and how you want to progress. So whoever is dreaming of being an entrepreneur, पहले अपने आप से एक honest conversation करिए, right? That do you really want to solve something which is bugging you? And the word which has been used often is, are you really passionate enough to, beg everything what you have in your personal professional life to make it happen? If the answer is yes, that you are ready to sacrifice, you are ready to struggle where you want to be, then think of entrepreneurship. Forget about funding, forget about the startup ecosystem. I'm sure Diwali was just around the corner a month back. बहुत सारे लोगों ने सुना होगा लक्ष्मी उसी के पास आती है जहाँ लक्ष्मी होती है, right? Please remember this. Though I have been part of the investor side, but I always tell entrepreneurs that first be true to yourself. Everything will follow you if you are doing the fundamentals right. And that's what you need to focus on. And that would be my sincere advice. Don't go with the buzz, don't go with the glamour, don't go with the news which you read day in and day out. कोई किसी पे मिलन ऐसे नहीं डालता है, right? आप डालेंगे क्या 10 रुपए किसी के ऊपर भी, right? Unless you are really convinced. So do ask those tough questions. It's not an easy journey. I don't want to show you the dreams. In fact, I represent a fund where we help entrepreneurs achieve their dream. But with the same breath, I always say that dare to dream, but make sure that you really know what your dream is all about and follow that, right? So that piece of advice, and thanks everybody for giving those nuggets. I think I deeply enjoyed. That's it from my side, Rashmi. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next one is Mr. Shailesh, venture partner at our ventures.
Hi, good morning. I just want to share my life experience so that it will be my experience and you can learn from that. So I started my entrepreneurial journey in 1998. That was with IIT Delhi Incubation. So four of us, we started a design consulting firm, and as it was incubated in IIT Delhi, we got an angel investor in that time. That time there was no term like angel investment or startups or any other thing. But yes, we got it, and that gentleman funded us like anything as a parent. We run that company very successfully, and you name any of the businesses in the world that time, be it Microsoft, be it Electrolux, be it TVS, be it WHO, be it any big brand, Amway. So we helped them in standing up branding. Okay, but again, as we were very young, we just passed out from the college. We invested our own money. Whatever we have, we got it from some parents. Then there was an investor who funded us. But there was no mentor available with us who could be mentoring us on how to make this business big. So after 7 to 8 years, we realized that, say, we just pass out from the college, very young. We have our own aspirations in the life. So someone wants to go to US, someone wants to have something aspiration around, and then that started crumbling our startups. Profit making business. That means in first year of our business, we made profit of 22 lakh of rupees. First year. And then we were not ready to pay taxes that time because this was hard-earned money. So we bought cars for everyone. Just imagine. So that was our venture. But again, after that we could not look at the growth, or we could not understand how to grow. And then we just parted ways. Now after that, wherever I invested, that is true, wherever I was a key person, or at least I was a mentor or doing something with them. So there I invested. And the third way which I invested is, it's an emotional full investment. That also happens sometimes. So I invested with one of my friends. He was doing something really good he wanted to do. And I was knowing from the beginning that few of the things that person is not doing good. Being a mentor also, I could not educate that person to be, means he should come on the ground floor to be a startup entrepreneur, a startup founder. You don't have liberty, as she said some time back, you don't have liberty to hire a person, you don't have liberty to have swanky office and other things. So that's it. Now also, when I'm being a venture partner with a venture fund or a startup fund, I evaluate at least 8 to 10 startups every week. And I found a basic problem with most of the startups is that they feel that whatever they are doing is out of the world. Yes, it might be, but it is not necessary every time that you should do something new all the time or innovate all the time. Even if whatever you are doing that has a future potential or huge potential, it is done. Just take example of e-commerce. There are Amazon, there is Flipkart, there is Nykaa, there are so many things, and D2T brands are still coming. But still, today also e-commerce is a place wherein India as a country has huge potential. So it is not necessary that you have to innovate all the time. Innovate on your entrepreneurship journey, innovate on your processes, innovate on your fund management. And whenever you start any of the business, you start it for doing something, not for raising funds. And any business sustains or becomes sustainable on revenue. So journey from day one of any of the founders should be on focusing on the customer, what my customer wants and how I can give them the return of their investments. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have next in the line Mr. Jeet, founder of Redas Tech Technologies.
Hi, good morning. So glad to be here. I see few familiar faces actually, and I've been connected to few people for my own mentorship. So, so glad to be here, being one of the, I guess, youngest people out here I see. And a few things I have for the students who are sitting behind the advisors and investors. We don't do startup just because we don't have any other option. Right. Many people I feel I meet also, they apply for jobs, they don't get jobs for a year. Then they come and tell me that, sir, I'm doing a startup because I'm not getting job and I feel that I'm good at so and so skills. Only thing is, first, why people do startup? Because they want to bring a change. Second, why people why people do start anything is because they feel that yes, they want to pursue their dreams. Because even my friends, there are many of my friends, I feel that they were during college times good at so and so many skills, but they are not pursuing those skills out there in the market by doing job. Let's say, if I give example of myself, I was quite good in sales, I was quite good in persuasion. But after I completed my mechanical engineering, I was in mechanical engineer because it was an evergreen and safe field for me back in 2012. Just when I passed out back in 2016, everything got changed. It was IT everywhere. I got an option in 2012 to complete and choose my IT field, but I chose mechanical being a safer side, and that's what many of us do right now also. Even if you don't have any interest in IT, even if you don't have any interest in computer, feeling that computer science is one of the future and it is going on right now, people do choose that and then they get stuck in the same loop. So what I feel, or what I have to say always to students, to young generation, that don't ever go, or don't ever choose a safe side if you have an entrepreneurial mindset. Because entrepreneur journey, as Rashmi just told, is not a safe journey. Okay, there is always going to be something new that you will face every day in the life, and you need to be ready for that. If you have a safe mentality, it won't be a good journey for you. And you have to be good at multiple other things, not only one thing that you will choose and you will take up for your life. So yeah, I guess that's about it for most of the startup, like most of the students who are looking to start their own venture. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next we have is Mr. Sachin, founder of Word of Health.
Guys, I'm not going to take the podium because that's for a lot of senior people over here that are much more senior than me in advising and investing. I'm a founder first, like you guys over here, okay? Apart from being a founder, I also know your struggles, I empathize, right? You were mentioning earlier about some saturations. The world is not saturated in the least, okay? There's a million problems and there are a million solutions because there are more than a couple of billion people to solve that, right? So honestly, a startup founder's journey is very empathetic from a point that you're passionate about something, you want to resolve something. And through this journey, I've actually been part of advising a lot of startups as well, because I've been involved with multiple businesses in multiple different countries, right? Through that, I've honed in on some certain skill sets where I've advised people, where I've invested in companies through physical investments, through strategic investment, and through advisory, right? But the true journey of a startup founder is not an easy one, right? Like ma'am said, like everybody of my fellow investors and advisors said, it's a hard one. If you guys are actually game for it, there's a lot to solve for, right? There's a certain enjoyment in punishments that startup founders have to grow to enjoy, right? And when you actually reach that point, it's going to become a beautiful journey for most of you that are struggling. I don't know, what else does anyone have any questions about advisory or about investment or about startups that I can address for you particularly? Anyone? Oh yeah, definitely. So investment even, like everybody accepts, everybody expects investment as like direct funds coming in, right? There's so many criteria to investment as well, like everyone mentioned, even the gentlemen who were sitting and explaining on the stage. There's so many criteria to investment. It depends on what you're looking for in terms of investment and why you're looking at that investment, right? There's righteous investment and then there's investment just for being invested in, right? As a startup, my advice to you guys is look for righteous investment. Always go for the right kind of investment and you'll know when you're ready for that. Okay? Good luck, guys.
Thank you, sir. Next we have is Mr. Shubham, CEO of Scale Effect Advisors.
Again, I'm gonna copy your style that I'm not that experienced to have a podium. But yeah, I am Shubham, I'm company secretary by profession. I'm not gonna give you a lot of wisdom on what is the passion and all of this, because all the advisors here have already shared all these things with you. But I think entrepreneur is somebody who's a jack of all trades. He has to consider each and every aspect of it, be it finance, be it legal, be it maybe business development, everything. Always consider an opportunity as maybe a situation where things might go wrong and things might go like you have not expected to go as you have planned to it. But be ready for it, and things might go up or might go down, because COVID has hit a lot of people, and I think recession is also coming or not, but you have to be ready for all those factors also. I have started my journey back in 2016 as a practicing company secretary, but like I said, that you have to be very clear on what you are looking for, maybe where do you want to be in future. I think if you have that clarity in your mind, the rest of the things will follow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have Mr. Sumesh, CEO and CSO, Data Fortune.
Very good morning to all of you. So I have 2-3 inputs for specifically people who are getting into entrepreneurship, because I have been doing mentoring for a decade now, and I'm in the industry around 28 years now. So I think we as Indians are more interested in cricket. I always match everything with some game, because I feel that is what keeps you interested. So we all know cricket very well, right? And we all know the god of cricket, Sachin Tendulkar. I think all of you. Why he has become Sachin Tendulkar? Do you know that? Why he is god of the cricket? Because he is the guy who has always listened to his coach. Do you remember his coach's name? Ramakant Achrekar, right? Sir Ramakant Achrekar. Sir Ramakant Achrekar has never played for great tournaments, or he was not a great guy like Sachin Tendulkar, but he has made Sachin Tendulkar. So couple of confusions that startup entrepreneurs have. I think we need to first ensure that whomever you're selecting as a mentor, once you select him as a mentor, try to listen to him, try to respect his experience, then you will grow. That is a basic thing, because you have to totally think that, okay, what mentor is trying to tell you is right. And don't think from a perspective that if a mentor has created a company of maybe $1 billion, then only he can mentor my company. This is also a myth for the startup entrepreneur, because they feel that he has not done a great thing, so how he will do it. It's not that. It is all the experience that counts end of the day when a mentoring is happening with all of you. You have to respect that. And whether you're paying a mentor or not paying a mentor is a second question. But you need to respect the mentor's time. And you need to, if you're paying, then you know the seriousness, because you will think from a money perspective and ask the right. Because why I'm telling you, I have been doing this for long years. Earlier when I used to talk to people, I used to tell them, I used to mentor them and tell them that these are the things you need to do. After 6 months or 1 year, they used to come back to me and they used to again come with the same problem statement. We are facing with the same problem. So I used to tell them, I have told these things to implement and show me. I have not done it. Oh, sorry sir, we were busy with something else. If that is the attitude, then it's difficult to grow. So you need to really think from the perspective that when some mentors, you're talking to some mentors, they need to, what they are trying, what they are suggesting, you need to try it out, and then you need to implement it and give the feedback. Then only things will improve. Otherwise, it's not going to improve. That is one basic request to all the startups. And second thing is that I think one of my friend was saying, and as Rashmi was also suggesting, that generally when you get into the startup mode, you have to know everything because you are running all the functions. You are running the finance, you are running the marketing, you are running the sales, which is good. You have to do it because when I am mentoring a lot of startups, I know the basic problem statement for all the startups is that after if it's a services startup, if they create a 40-member team, after that they don't know how to grow. Right? And if it's a product company, till one level they created a product, after that they don't know what to do next. Why? Because they start feeling that I know everything, which is also wrong. Because you know how to drive Maruti 800, you have been driving that and you are taking it over everywhere. But suddenly if you are given a truck to drive, you cannot drive it. You need a guy who has driven the truck, or at least a person who knows how to drive the truck. If you think that I have driven Maruti 800, I will drive the truck, you are going to fail. And that is what is happening in the startup industry. So if you see the statistics, 90% of the startups fail. The other question which I think Rashmi was asking in one of the panel discussion was that why are we copying the ideas? There are people who are copying, but if you're copying, it has to be the best. You try to do something better. Even in the old business model, if you see what is the old business model, you go to your lane where you are staying, there are a lot of Kirana stores. One Kirana store guy put, the next one will come again and put a different store next to him only. It is competition in the next door. The next door shop is also a Kirana shop. He's copied that idea. But then out of that, one will survive, one will go. That is what is happening with the startup industry. If you're copying, you need to be the best. Otherwise, you come up with a new idea. These two things are my inputs to all of you. Respect your mentors, respect with all the advisors, whomever you are, they have some experience, they are coming with to you. And that will help you to grow because you have a limitation, everyone has a limitation. One person cannot advise you for all the functions. Not possible. Everyone has a limitation, so you have to understand your limitation and respect and get those people complementing the ideas for you. That would help you to grow in the right way. That's a small advice for you. Thank you very much, and thanks Rashmi for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And the last one is Mr. Santosh, CEO of Spring Up Capital. He is also IITB alumni.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I run two companies. One is Spring Up Capital. We are a VC firm focusing on B2B SaaS companies. Our model is to bring the early stage investments to tech companies and help them scale. I mean, we have done 6 investments so far, 3 in India, 2 in Norway, 1 in the US. I also run a startup by my own. I have exited one earlier, and that's the reason why I created Spring Up Capital. And now I also run the second, my own company. So I am kind of representing both the sides, investor as well as running the company. I myself have pitched and raised the investment for my own company. Obviously, the conflict of interest. So that's the reason I did not invest my own company into my own startup. I want to make 2-3 points here. This is a fantastic time to be in India to build a startup. Brilliant startups ecosystem right now in India. Lot of innovation happening. I think I might be disagreeing with some of the people. Example, UPI, Paytm. Never in the world you have a system like UPI. Never in the world you get your grocery delivered in 10 minutes. Never in the world you have multiple options to deliver food to your home with such a competition, with a lot of cost competitiveness. So there is a brilliant ecosystem, there is a brilliant innovation happening across India. This is the best time to be in India to build a startup. If you are thinking of going out to build a startup, think otherwise. $32 billion was invested in last year. We are in what we call as an investment winter right now, but it shall pass. It will pass. So stay with your idea, and then I wish you all the best, and I would like to see some of the bright startups coming up from this area, and I'm happy to work with you with my experience from both the sides as an investment as well as building my own company. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I hope the audience enjoyed all the discussions and have gained great insights from it. I would ask if anyone wants to ask any question, that is Q&A session to the mentors or investors here. So we'll be giving you time. Like, if you want to ask right now.
Thank you very much. So my question is to my fellow mentors. So you mentioned the saturations and the idea and copy of ideas, right? So like example, we have Ola, we have Uber, we have Swiggy, we have Zomato, same with e-commerce, right? So how patent will helpful for the small startup, right? So that Amazon or Flipkart will not have that kind of idea or that kind of solution in their own business. Would the patent would be helpful in that case?
Yeah, definitely, I think so. Patent is something which is going to create an entry barrier for others. Okay. But I also have other opinion that, patent will not always, protect you forever. There are people who are innovation. Innovation itself means that you are doing something which is different from another existing idea. So there's going to be somebody who is going to change the design, change a little bit of technology, and without infringing the patent which you have taken. So it is not going to protect you lifelong, but it is yes going to give you an edge for a certain time, and in that time which you get additional time, you need to really prove in the market that this idea which you have created and patented is marketable, take it to the market and move to the next level. I hope I answered your question.
The same thing, like I have around 18 of them, but you get only 16 months of head start. Post 16 months, it is published. Once it is published, it can be circumvented.
Just a question to you guys. How many of you have created startups which are product based? Right? Have you thought of creating a patent on it? So just for your information, when he talked about 16 months or 18 months of the full patent, we will have to disclose it entirely when you apply for it. So all those thinking of patents, please apply for a provisional patent instead of a full patent. By the time you get to the 16-18 month of protection, okay, you would have iterated and you would have added much more things. And when it comes down, you already have that 16 to 18 month head start. That is what he was talking about. So please do your research, while you are doing your startups. It's a 24/7 process. Running a startup, everybody has mentioned, it's a 24/7 process. There are no holidays. Okay? So if you want holidays, please pick up a job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
My question is for all the investors here. You being an investor in this industry, what makes you to pick a startup? Is it a founder, or is it the idea, or is it the market at what they are operating for, or what exactly it is, and then you shortlist your startups?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that question. The correct answer is combination of all. But if as an investor I have to pick up, my first bet is the founder. Right? Ideas, they say, is a dozen a dime. But founder, and obviously a lot of other things, but if I have to rate and answer your question, I would say the founder, what he brings and what he's trying to build. If his experience is aligned to what he's trying to build, and it is coupled with the grit and passion, that will be the top. But to be correct, it has to be a combination of all.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just to answer your question, I completely agree. It's the founding team that I look at. The team has to give me confidence, and usually what Rashmi also mentioned, the person has to be a jack of all trades, but usually it's difficult to find a single founder who's jack of all trades. So we also try to look at that in entirety, can the team complement each other and do all those things that are required to be done. So that kind of formulates about 75% in my head. Then there is, of course, the product, the idea, the market, the timing. Like 2 years back in COVID time, all the startups which are coming with travel software, travel kind of things, nobody was investing in them. Not that they were bad or something, but the market was such that because of the restrictions, nobody was investing in travel startups. So that was just a temporary situation, but in general, as everybody probably will agree, that founding team, then idea, market and competition. That's the hierarchy.
Thank you.
So my question is specifically to the startup mentors and less to the VCs. So as a new business owner, if I approach a startup mentor, and if it's a paid mentor, like, do you commit to the balance sheets of my company that yes, because it's a paid mentoring. So do you, or else how do I understand the efficiency of the person I'm approaching, so that I can choose the right mentor?
So I do that, and so I do paid mentorship. So what I usually do, it's only in my case that I'm sharing it here. What I do is I ask them to buy 10 hours of my time for a certain amount and work it out with me. So within the first 10 hours, we get to know if we are having some wavelength, is there some vibe, are we seeing the things in the same way or not. I also need to understand what the founders or the team's thought process and goals are, and all these things cannot be understood just by one introductory meeting. So they buy out a package of 10 hours. After 10 hours, either we can say goodbye, or if we have gelled, we can continue the engagement. That's usually what I do.
Thanks.
I would like to add on the points which you said. Mentor and mentee is a totally different relationship. You cannot quantify, or you can, sometimes it is very difficult to have a commercial proposition into that. Because it is not possible for every mentor that he has traveled the same journey which you want to travel now. So there might be problem which the mentor has never gone into that. So mentor will not provide you solution for your problems. He will provoke you, he will make you find solution for you. But yes, he will be available there all the time. So whether it comes to balance sheet or not, as a startup you should not think much about say balance sheets and all. It's better, मतलब जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं पहले खड़ा होना जरूरी है, बड़ा बाद में हो जाएंगे. So same way, मतलब you don't worry about balance sheets, statutory things and all. And when you are really going into mentorship, as someone said earlier also, it's the trust, and you have to believe that 100% if you have appoint anyone as a mentor.
So you have to understand the difference between a mentor, like you said, we are there to provoke, guide, stuff like that. But obviously it comes at a cost. Okay, the initial cost. I mean, again, this is personal. I do pro bono meetings, fine. But the moment it goes on to the balance sheet, as you want to say, because you are in business now, you realize the importance of the balance sheet. None of these guys actually, give consideration to the top line, bottom line. They wouldn't know. The mentor goes from being a mentor to a consultant. Then it actually gets paid, because then you want accountability. Okay, so when it goes, so somebody you hire for, say, a sales kind of hack, sales hack, growth hack. So you want to know how he or she has contributed, whether those ideas have actually helped, whether the sales have doubled, tripled, 2x, 3x, whatever terms we use, right? So there is accountability. Whether the campaigns that he or she suggested have actually brought in some traction for you guys. You bring in a branding consultant, you bring in a guy who is patent. Those are measurable, right? Something like digital marketing really isn't. Something like a growth hack is sales, yes, definitely. So mentor, consultant, advisor, these are three different terms, and it's kind of subject to how they interpret it.
I think I agree with whatever has been said so far, and this particular comment is not to answer you what you asked. This is for everyone, and I'm just element of having a mentor or a coach, an advisor slash consultant. These words have actually evolved over last a decade or so, right? And translate the mentor in Hindi we call it guru, right? और अगर आपको जिस दिन अपने गुरु का टाइम बैलेंस शीट में देखना पड़ गया ना, तो आप ये समझ लीजिए या तो आप में कुछ गलत है या उस गुरु में गलत है, right? So first of all, you have to understand and put your energies and time and effort in choosing the right mentor or like I said guru, right? अगर आपको ये समझ में आ रहा है कि वो गुरु आपके साथ क्या करना चाह रहा है, right? Whether he or she is able to bring the best out of you, and whatever he or she is saying is actually showing the traction in your business, you are there. But I'll say it again with all humbleness. जिस दिन आपको ये सोचना पड़ गया कि you know whether it is giving me a return on the money which I'm paying to the mentor or whatever, look into the deeper issue, whether I have picked up the right mentor at all or not, complementary to my problems which I was looking the answers to. So I thought I'll just say it for all, not in particular, because your question was really answered well.
Yeah, I would just like to add 2-3 things. So basically, as she was telling regarding mentor is the guru, right? As I told, end of the day, you are playing the match. Mentor is not playing the match, right? Ramakant Achrekar was sitting outside. Sachin Tendulkar was doing all the centuries, right? So he was playing the match. He was just telling him what is right, what is wrong, which side he needs to play, what practice he needs to do, and based on that, he was improving and he build that trust year on year, right? Because he was doing that. The same thing happens with mentors. Now I have been doing so as he suggested something similar. I have been doing earlier. I used to do free, but there is an expectation from the guru also. The day you start thinking that my problem is passed on to guru, that is not the right thing. That is where the problem starts. Because you are running the show, you need to play the game. Because many times what I have seen with startup mentorship is that after some times when we say that you need to do this, they start expecting that you give me the formula, you give me the sheet, you give me the process, you give me the template. That means that is not the right thing. Then either you are getting into a consulting mode and then you will have these problems. So there is a difference there. So you need to really understand that and then build that trust with the mentor. And as I told, like what I used to do personally at my thing is, because I'm doing it with 7, 8 companies, I give a 1 hour time, again chargeable time, and I kept it earlier. I used to do it free. I kept it because you need to be serious on that. You need to really think that these are the 10 questions I need to go prepared for the next meeting. And my simple question is that last meeting, if I have given you 10 action items, can you come back with the action item status, closure, problems in the next meeting? If you are prepared, come to the next meeting. Otherwise, don't have the meeting. Because understand one thing, whoever is the mentor, whoever is going to be the senior, they all have done their experience. They are not there to charge you for 1 hour. They are not coming with that attitude. Their attitude is that you need to be successful and you need to reach to a level that satisfies that mentor. That is the thought process behind the mentor guru. He wants his kid to be the best kid, right, as a guru. So that is why you need to think from that perspective. The day you start thinking, मैंने एक marketing mentor hire कर लिया, मेरा marketing का सब problem वो solve करेगा, I think that is going to fail. So please take care of that. That's all.
Probably the last one, I would just like to add, not only to your question, but to many of the people, and I was also in that shoe once. Always we as a founder, we think ki if we approach any mentor, there comes a monetary factor or there comes a share factor, where we hesitate. But what we always should understand is, it is always better to have a smaller pie of a larger pizza instead of having a bigger pie of a small pizza. How it happens also I'll tell you. पहले के ज़माने में क्या होता था, whoever was doing business, वो हमारे parents के business पे जाके बैठ जाते थे. It's just a scenario. It's not पहले के ज़माने में, अभी भी होता है, right? But in this scenario, what happens is, your parents have already done the trial and error. अभी entrepreneurship, when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's all about trial and error. When mentors, rightly as said, Mr. Amit ji अभी उन्होंने कहा कि जो पेटेंट का एग्जांपल उन्होंने दिया, राइट? मैनी ऑफ अस व्हेन वी आर फाइलिंग पेटेंट वी डोंट नो, एंड दैट्स वेयर अ मेंटरशिप कम्स इनटू द पिक्चर बिकॉज दे हैव ऑलरेडी डन दैट. सिमिलरली हाउ योर पेरेंट्स, अगर आप उनके बिजनेस में बैठते हो, दे हैव डन द ट्रायल एंड एरर टू गाइड यू इन द राइट पाथ कि ये चीज़ मत करो और ये चीज़ सही होगी. Similarly, we as an entrepreneur, we have made many mistakes. I started back in 2016, I settled back in 2019-20. 3 साल तक I was just doing trial and error because I had no one to guide me. Similarly, we cannot go to our parents because if in today's generation, if we are evolving or doing something new, they might not understand what we are doing. So we cannot take the guidance from them. What we can do is take guidance from those people who are already there in the industry, those who have an idea of what is going in the industry, and they can help us. And this help, I feel, we cannot value this help with like it cannot be balanced with either shares or monetary. If it fits well with either your startup or your vision, अगर आपका और mentor का vision match होता है, then I feel we cannot put any amount to that particular or any figure we cannot put on that particular thing that we are getting in the return from them. So yeah, that's that.
So, sorry to come back onto this, but there's a term we use, and that's called the coachability of founders. Okay, so it's not just the mentor's responsibility to improve your balance sheet. Quite a lot of time, it's the founders who hear you but don't listen to you. Okay, so the founder also has to be equally receptive and willing to take action. And not just the mentor who will just come and do a magic wand and the profits will improve. Okay?
There are cases where mentors have rejected founders also, even after training. So they told that it is not working out because you will not reach what the vision is doing. So they will reject. So don't think that if you pay mentors will come. So mentors will also reject founders. So that is also there.
Thank you so much.
One last.
We'll be having mentoring rounds. At that time, you can ask the mentors. Thank you. So, we'll take a 10 minutes break. All the mentors and investors are requested to head towards the open area. There is tea for you, and all the startups are requested to move towards the room. And also, I would like to call Dharva. He's the events and PR head at ESL IIT Bombay. And I would also like to call S.N. Chivande of AISSMS College of Engineering for giving the mementos to the panelists, Amol sir and Rajiv sir. Thank you so much everyone. You may head towards your respective destinations. After 10 minutes, we'll start with the one-on-one mentoring sessions. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
हा लँडची केबल लावली पण नेट नाही आहे तो इंटरनेट म्हणत आहे लावून
इथे स्ट्रीम स्टॉप करू का?
आधी घेतो तो वन साईड
ब्रेक आहे सांगा ना.
पण आता सगळे मूव झाले.
कॅप्टिव्ह पोर्टलला जावं लागेल का?
परत कर. ते माहित नाही ओपन एरियावर जाणार आहे.
जनरेट चालू आहे. हे युजर पासवर्ड टाकलं आपण ते लॉग आउट करू नका असं चालू. मी तुम्हीच करून ठेवतो ठीक आहे. वाईट असेल ना तर मुलांचं आहे हे झालं इंटरनेट चालू, ठीक आहे. फक्त हे बंद नका करू, हे बंद नका करू. हे मिनिमाइज करून ठेवतो. युजर नेम पासवर्ड घेऊन घ्या. हे कॅप्टिव्ह पोर्टल आहे यांचं, नेट चालू होतं. हे रात्री संपले हे पाठवलं. युजर नेम CAN आहे, पासवर्ड CAG C कॅप.
क्लोजअप घे थोडासा. क्लोजअप मी झूम करून घेतो बघ केले का नाही मदर डेली फंड कर सकते हैं.
बाय चांस उसको इंसिडेंस ऐसे हुए कि वो एक्सप्लोर करते हुआ रिलायंस के दफातर में चला गया उसने बोला कि मैं फार्मर आया अपॉइंटमेंट पूछ रहे थे अगर फार्मर आया तो नहीं ले सकते
audience. India has emerged as the third largest ecosystem for startups globally, with over 77,000 DPIIT recognized startups across 656 districts of the country as of 29th August 2022. India ranks as the second in innovation quality, with top positions in the quality of scientific publications and the quality of its universities among middle-income economies. Till financial year 16-17, approximately one unicorn was being added every year. Over the past 4 years, this number has increasing exponentially, with a whopping 66% year-on-year growth in the number of additional unicorns being added every year. As of 7th of September 2022, India is home to 107 unicorns with a total valuation of $340 billion. Hello everyone, a very warm welcome and thank you for your presence here. We all have gathered here for the session Chat with Entrepreneurs, and we have some amazing entrepreneurs with us. I will just quickly give a snapshot of what these amazing founders do. They are disrupting their respective industries, be it blockchain, healthcare, EV sector, or fintech, and they are making industries accessible to the general public. So the kind of innovation is just mind-blowing, and more important to note, they have done it in a very, very short period of time. We look forward to have a very interesting conversation with all of you. Mr. Sumit Bhattevar, he is the co-founder and chief business officer at eMotorrad. Let's have a big round of applause for him. Welcome, sir. Mr. Ankur Borvankar, he is the founder of Dictum Media and is a speaker, investor, lawyer and an entrepreneur. Welcome, sir. Now I am going to begin by requesting them to sum up their startup stories in a couple of lines. Starting with Sumit sir.
We started this entrepreneurial journey just 2.5 years back. It's e-cycle. A lot of you guys are not aware about e-cycle as a form factor. Just to give you some statistics, India sells around 22 million units of IC engine scooters or motorcycles, largest in the world. When it comes to electric segment as such, we are familiar with Tesla because of Elon Musk, so we know the best electric cars are made and people are using it. Probably first time in the history, EV crossed IC engine sales in terms of four-wheeler as a form factor in US. That's how Tesla is going. It bypassed Mercedes numbers. So we think EV, we see as a form factor, probably two-wheeler or three-wheeler or four-wheeler are actually the success or not. When I say two-wheeler, I'm talking about scooters or motorcycles. But just to give you some statistics, electric cycle, even though it's a new form factor for the country, for the globe, it is pretty old. In last 3 years, around 8 to 10 million units of electric scooters have been sold, or motorcycles per se. Cars are 32 million last 3 years. Any guesses on electric cycle? Any wild guess? It can be wrong. Fine. Any wild guess? Anything? Lesser, equal? 132 million. That's the electric cycle. So, when you see the commute pattern in the globe, public infrastructure was the only solution for the population what the globe had, be it Europe, be it Japan, or be it developed country like USA, where the first mile and last mile was the only problem that they had to solve. That's where Bird and Line took the birth. But soon after the inception of the mobility era with respect to first mile and last mile problems, people understood, specifically Sequoia. They had their hard lessons investing after bounce. So it was very clear that the kind of population we have in the country, the sort of mobility needs we have in the country are going to be very different. So we need different solutions to this problem. So we came up with electric cycle as a form factor, not innovative way. It was already present across globe. We innovated the form factor in healthier way. We are working on a tech which will be a next gen IoT tech, first time in the electric cycle in the history ever. So we will be launching this tech in January. So what is making us creating a value in a startup journey? I don't specifically say we are a business people, because we are creating value in a different way. We are integrating mobility with the health for the first time. You go into mid-30s, for the last 30 years, Western world has taught us to eat packaged food, Western world has taught us to eat all the junk. And India is looking at their population of 30s and 40s, people getting early diabetic symptoms, people getting cholesterol. 2 years of COVID has made people realize you don't have, you have great deficiencies on vitamin levels. So it is pretty clear India is not moving towards a healthier tomorrow. So how do you make India healthy? Which is the larger population. We are having 40-60% of population of youth, and they must be healthy in order to carry the load of the country. Simple as that. How do you do that? You go to gym, it's very expensive. You have a personal trainer, very expensive. What is the motivation to go every day? Very difficult. So we came up with an idea. We know for a matter of fact, electric cycle doesn't have an infrastructure, but it doesn't require one. I can use the same road, I can use the same power point to charge my product. I am dealing with less than 300 watts of power, which is typically 2 of your smartphone putting together. So what is the thing what we are trying to promote is if you want to become healthy, adopt your commute to e-cycle, which is a smart commute. Your travel time to your office, to your college, anywhere is going to be exactly the same, because your traffic speed is below 25. Average speed is 22. On an e-cycle you can achieve 25. So your travel time won't change. What will change is approximately the study shows for 10 kilometers you will be burning 550 kilocalories, which is more than your achievement goal for a day on a pedal assist level. Pedal assist is the electrically assisted motor where you don't feel cycling. So what else you want? That is something which we wanted to disrupt. In last 2 years we had amazing journey. We became the only e-bike exporter of the country, which was exporting to Europe, US and Japan. That proves us the quality. Number speaks for itself. And it is very evident that if you guys decide to do something, you don't need to depend on the resources what you need to have. You can build the resources, you can make utilization of the resources, but you can build your dreams. You can check our export data, the brand name is eMotorrad. You can check on us on LinkedIn, the kind of content we have, and you can definitely follow us. And just to keep one small achievement what we have done in last 2.5 years, our lifetime revenue has crossed 175 crore mark last month. So that is the startup we are trying to do. And we are trying to offer India a healthy country. That is the one-line objective we want to achieve in the country. But at the same time, we don't want to be only in a specific domain. We want to have a global vision. In less than 2.5 years, we are present in 5 countries today. Europe has been open. Japan has been open. Dubai has been open. India is present, and we are registering ourselves in Middle East. So these are the countries we'll be operating. We have the tremendous potential in the country, tremendous opportunity in EV. All the budding startup entrepreneurs, you can visit us freely. We are located in Pune, and all sort of opportunities we can share where you also can start your entrepreneur. That's all. Thank you guys.
Ask you a question again. Some of your startup stories in a few lines. My startup is called Dictum Media. We work primarily in branding and marketing. I think since we're a marketing firm, it's easier to let the work speak for itself than for me to speak about the work. You're welcome to explore. We're available on all channels. You're welcome to explore and find out what we do. What I can tell you though is I'll give you a history of how we got here. In about 2017, I started an online portal called Indus Dictum, which was a platform for open collaboration and free speech. It was ideally to uphold the values of free exchange of freedom of speech enshrined under Article 19 of the Constitution of India. This became it snowballed into a portal that started publishing articles from thought leaders, from judges, from UPSC officers, from entrepreneurs, people from all walks of life. And over time, we grew to a subscribership of over about 100,000 across the world. That brought us into the content space. It created a nexus where so many people were interacting. There was so much exchange and cross-pollination of idea and streams that we moved into a publication format. That spawned Dictum Media. The house itself went on to become a design, marketing, and branding house. We work with companies across the world. We work with divisions that handle not only marketing and design, but also then there are subsets of that, such as search engine optimization, offline and online marketing. We have now begun to explore a more technical space where we are designing our own products that then provide what is currently it wants to be the world's most advanced SEO automation software. I'm not sure if anybody here, I'm sure everybody has heard of the term SEO. How familiar they are with it is a different question. Search engine optimization is a misnomer. There's one search engine that is used by 99% of people on earth. And you all know which search engine that is. So when we say SEO, we really mean Google optimization. You want to speak to Google, there are lots of ways. Your website, which is your primary interaction channel, your conduit for which you talk to Google through, has its own language. Google can of course read your website, can understand the content, largely the text content, not so much the image content, but then Google has its own language which lets Google figure out what it is about. Google is an AI, there's no mistake about this. We are designing a tool that helps Google better understand what a website is about because it speaks the language that Google speaks. If we were all speaking a language that none of you understood, it would be difficult for you to, maybe you would understand with words and gestures what we were trying to say, emotions. But this one is, it falls directly on the ears of Google and gets the idea across with no loss in accuracy, no loss in translation. We were recognized in 2021, that was last year, by Startup India, by the government of India for this tool that we are building. And we also alongside entered consultancy, which is now the third foray that we'll be taking outside of Windows Dictum. I hope to continue growing the website. I'm the founder and CEO, but I take no credit for the work that my team does. They're fantastic. They're spread across the world. And for our clients, keep doing what we do.
It was pretty insightful. My next question is for both of you. Sir, why Pune? Why this specific genre of your startup? And what are your biggest learnings so far?
So, when we started the particular business, it was no pandemic. And we were very clear. We were masters into the designs. We had the handhold of the technology. We never wanted to get into the manufacturing. No design firm wants to get there. There are a lot of contract manufacturers available across China. They are doing excellent job. Probably will take years to understand how effectively they work. So, Pune was the place where we all were centered. I am from Pune, and Pune was the place where Nhava Sheva port is also near. Where port is something, the port what we use for exporting specifically to UAE and the Europe. That port we were using. We were sure India can't manufacture aluminum. Even though we are using so much of aluminum, we do not manufacture the grade which is required to make a bike. But we had pretty much sorted a normal bicycle industry established. So we had 5-10 year goal to put up diversification into India. So Pune was ideally a good location. Centrally located across country where your logistic cost cuts 25% cheaper. There are great calculations which we have done. So that was making much more sense. Nhava Sheva was nearer, which would have helped us to export. So these were the two reasons Pune. Learnings with respect to sentiment and consumer behavior is something which is immense. For no reason we started hating China, and it impacted my business a lot. It was just simple, overnight one thing happened, started news, media started, Honorable Prime Minister had some different vision. We are still importing the same, our imports have gone bigger with China last 2 years if you see the statistics, but nobody tells you that.
you just enter into Navashi and you understand the number of containers we are importing. There was no availability of the containers, by the way. Just to give you an example how much more we were importing from China when the anti-China sentiment was getting developed, is the cost of a DG container. DG is dangerous goods because there are batteries in the container. It was costing around $800 pre-COVID. We all say we don't want anything from China. That's what we were saying. So after this anti-China sentiment got developed, the container ocean freight should have dropped. You know, it went to what rate? $16,000. That was the rate, ocean freight. One side, consumers were not ready to pay the premium. Other side, they were saying it's China, we don't want it. And the third side, reality speaks, your imports have not gone down, your imports are increasing. So consumers is something which, there were huge learnings for us. How are they actually looking at the product? What stories they want? They don't want the reality. They want the sugar-coated lies, not even the truth. So consumer is something which was very different to understand. Prior entering into this business, we were already in the business of exports, just to testing our design and partnership skills in China. So we were very much sure on the product because that journey was completed. But entering first time into B2C gave us a lot of lessons, what things to communicate, how to communicate, what your should communication to the consumer and to the stakeholders be. Very hard learning with respect to consumer understanding. Second thing is cracking the dealer network. You were taking upon the Giant, which was 75-year-old Hero. Any cycle brand you remember your childhood, probably Hero is the cycle brand you all remember, or Atlas, which went out of business now, or anything other is Hercules or other brands, which are probably again 40-plus-year-old. So we were taking on a competition which is TI Cycles, which was Murugappa Group Chennai. The other competition was Hero. Very few people know the Heroes. There are multiple brothers. It's a Munjal family. Hero Motocorp is different, Hero Cycle is different, Hero Electric Division is different, Electro is different. All brothers are different and none of them have the caliber what Hero Motocorp had. But even people will still call it is Hero. No truth, right? It is just the perception, it is Hero, it will last. I'll tell you, if you see a cycle of a Hero, it was 7 containers were rejected from Japan for quality. And India, it is known for quality. That's the brand. That is what the perception consumers have developed. And we are taking on them. Now they had one thing which we never had, which is deep pockets. They were offering credit period of 90 days to my dealers, distributors. Payment terms were flexible. Even after 90 days you pay, that's fine. They have a huge SKUs with them, good team. All IAMs they were having in their team. And taking on Hero was a bit very difficult. Convincing the dealer, and you are not supposed to travel during pandemic. 2 years where almost 8 months you lost the business to pandemic. You are not supposed to travel, but your cash flows won't stop. Your rent, your EMIs, your payments, your salaries, those won't stop. So you have to figure the way or other way around. So we did it, and we proudly say today we hold a 13.8% market share in electric cycles, which is second in the country. That we have done, we have achieved. It was very difficult. It is like Bira taking on Kingfisher. Fighting with the legacy of Kingfisher, it is definitely possible. And one thing I'll just tell you, which is going to be the statistics after 6 months, which I'm 100% sure we are going to do it and achieve it, is this 13.8% market share will go to 50 plus in less than 8 months. This is the promise. This is what we are going to do. And this 13.8% market share didn't come easy. Their average price of the product is 26,000 rupees. My average price of the product is 50,000 rupees. So getting a 13.8% share at a 50,000 price point was very tough. And we did this successfully for last 1.5 years, 2 years. And the journey here is going to be from the learnings of consumer behavior and learning on the competition and learning on managing the supply ecosystem in the country, which was very tough to develop. It took 18 months. And in this January, I was just speaking, in this January, after 18 months of hard work, we will be launching 100% made in India cycle. We will have a very big launch event in Pune JW. So there, the business share should definitely shoot up.
Your question was why Pune and why this specific genre, media genre, and what is your biggest learning so far?
Why Pune? Why not Pune? It's a center of culture. It was the intellectual capital of the country. Still is in many ways. It was the capital of Shivaji Maharaj's empire. It's still a crossroads for immigration. In fact, 50% of the people I've met today in this college are not from Pune. That's good. That results in a lot of exchange of ideas, languages, leads to growth. As to why this genre? Well, in 2017, I was rounding up my LLB, my degree in law, Bachelor of Laws, and among the matters closest to my heart is the freedom of speech. I study the Constitution very closely. I very much enjoy the pursuit of knowledge of history of the Constitution. And at the time it was clear to me, still is, that this country is facing a crisis on free speech, on freedom of expression. So I decided to do something about it, like all good entrepreneurs, I guess. The answer was to start a portal where people could talk to each other, where people could publish their hopefully controversial thoughts, because one shouldn't run away from those controversies. One should, in fact, sunlight being the best disinfectant, what you want to do is bring them out into the open so that other people can discuss them. You don't know the validity of your own thoughts, you can't figure out the strength of your own ideas if nobody's attacking them, if you don't have an opposing viewpoint. That's why dissent is so important. That's why several justices, several eminent judicial personalities have made strong rulings about the power of dissent, about the necessity of dissent. So the genre of thought exchange would be more accurate than the genre of, say, publication or news media or journalism in our case. Came about quite organically. That then, of course, planted the seeds of media world in general. We began to consult with companies that wanted content strategies, companies that wanted content development, lots of design work. These roads led down, other roads forked along the way, and then that's how we ended up at Dictum Media. Your third question was, sorry. Biggest learning along the way. That there's no straight path. Just because you are an engineer today doesn't mean you'll be an engineer tomorrow. I'm sure many engineers, not only in this room but across India, want to do an MBA at some point. That seems to be the straight path that so many engineers follow. I didn't. I studied economics, then I studied law, and now I run a marketing house. Typically that's something an MBA might do. They might end up studying, specializing in marketing and then doing what I do, but that's not how we work, right? Before we came up on stage, the four of us were having a discussion about how labels are completely useless, that they tend to restrict you more than actually identify you. And that restriction is then what clips your wings. That restriction is then what leaves you an engineer. Ki haan, theek hai, mera beta doctor banega, mera beta engineer banega is fine. But how far are you willing to push that, and how much are you willing to hold them down? How much do you want to become so specialized in your field that it becomes difficult for you to communicate with others, maybe even other specialists, maybe other generalists? Look, what I get from the world today, the world economy, the employment economy, is that people aren't looking for specialists anymore. They're actually looking for generalists. A CEO is usually a generalist. Yes, he may have a specialization in, it may be design, it may be some STEM field, it may even be economics, but if they have no general understanding of the work they do, and management being one of those generalist fields, if they have no understanding, then it becomes much more difficult for them to succeed. Don't silo yourself off. Don't just label yourself and get it tattooed on your forehead that I am such and such, because we're all more than just engineers or doctors or lawyers. I think that was the
Next, I was saying that startup founders, we were talking about unicorns, and startup founders are okay. They are not like Bollywood actors, which I think Bollywood actors get a lot of attention from the media. But there is a lot of cloud around everyone now in the globe also. What do you think are the values that an entrepreneur should pursue to become an entrepreneur?
First of all, I believe one should understand whether he is a businessman or an entrepreneur. That mentality has to be first clearly understood, whether I am running an ordinary business. We were discussing this, we four of us were discussing this. A lot of time people start a business either in any space. You consider any space. You consider IT, you consider product development, you consider design services, you consider consultancy services. There are a lot of areas where we can pick up businesses. One should be very clear, is it going to be a business model where I am going to cater to one need? I am not creating something new. I am not changing the behavior of people, how they do. Then he need to understand he is just operating one business which should be highly profitable. And he should focus his all business acumen on bringing the profitability. His all focus should be on financials, what cash flow I am generating, how long I am to take time to generate a positive cash flow. So the first business acumen of a person or the person who is starting a business should be on understanding whether he is creating a difference in the society, is creating a difference in human behavior change. Now, if you see unicorn term, you name all the unicorns. You take any example of unicorns which are highly valued or devalued, like a Byju's case, they created value which was intangible. If you consider what is going to be the profit margin of any particular business, you will understand the kind of valuation they have. It is huge. If you are talking about 140x of multiple, if you are talking about 40x multiple, then things are very different. I'll give you a very right example in my this thing. You know what is the valuation of Ola Electric? It's unicorn, but what is the valuation? Any guesses? Google it. We have the excellent tool. All you have a smartphone. Just Google it. Understand what is the valuation, and then do one more search. What is the valuation of Ether? Who has the better product? Why is valuation of Ether still not unicorn? They have not declared, but the kind of ROC rates I do, I believe it is close to 900 million. It's not the image of the founder. Ether is running a typical private equity business. He has developed an electric scooter, he is going to get into the mass game. So only way he is going to earn money is by selling the product. What is the upselling or cross-selling value he is able to generate there? Now when you say Bhavish did not say I am going to make an electric two-wheeler only. He has announced his three-wheeler, four-wheeler plans already. So he is trying to create a value with the consumer perception very differently. So that valuation will happen very differently. Ether has built its great engineering services. I am not doubting on that Tarun's capability, what he has built. He has built excellent product. But today what is the game Ola is trying to play? It's very different, right? So business person needs to understand what game he is entering into. Tarun said sorry to his investors. Probably it's my mistake, I couldn't make $1 billion valuation. It's a 7-year-old firm today. The best product in the country. And that product was not available in any part of the world by the way. Electric scooters are not used globally. Electric scooter is the only India market where it is consumed. So building that product was very tough. Then why not unicorn? Let us take an example of Zepto. What is the valuation of Zepto today? Google it. You can Google it. Understand the valuation of Zepto. What is the latest round they have raised? 200 million. 200 million. The latest round. Understand the valuation. It is nearing $1 billion company. It's $950 million today valuation. Now what are you guys talking about? What the hell they have done? What is the revenue they have? Let us talk about multiple. Their last quarter's losses, what they have booked was 350 crore. What is the revenue of that done? 50 crore. Then what is the kind of multiple you are asking for the valuation? How does this business work? It works very differently. Zepto has changed your behavior. You are no more ordering the product, food and going and buying them. You are ordering on your phone. It is coming in 10 minutes. What was the age of that founder when he founded Zepto? 19. Stanford dropout. Can you beat that? The youngest 1,000 crore worth guy in the country. So as a startup, you need to understand whether you are really creating value in the ecosystem. Healthy finding. You see that? Cult fit. You see that? I'll give you so many examples on this particular situations where a person should develop his own business acumen skills to answer your question. You tell me, business of gym, that is the simple model of cult fit. क्या करता है वो? He takes the business of gym and gives you a subscription. It's a traditional business. Why is that unicorn? Does it make any sense? What is cult fit doing? New Year birthday, you go and buy the subscription, but you don't use it. But you are afraid to sell over subscription. This is the gym facility. I can make 50 people work out at the time, but I sell 500 subscription because I know only 10% people will cover up. What if 20% people come? Will they not ask me a refund? Definitely they will ask me. Boss, I am paying for the services. I cannot wait in a queue. Simple as that. But what did CultFit do? CultFit said, boss, you have to buy a subscription with me and you have to book a class. And if you book a class and if you don't come, you don't show up, I am going to reduce it. I am going to penalty you. For example, one session I book, you don't come, I will reduce 2 sessions. Had anyone had these guts before? So this guy is making you change behavior, Baba. He is saying, boss, you have to pay for the subscription, then you have to book for the class and then you have to come also. If you don't come, I am going to charge you. So he's making you fit in a very different way. That's why it's $1 billion. Why Gold Gym was not there? Why Tagorkar was not $1 billion companies? So you need to understand as a business what value you are going to create. And that perceived value will always be intangible. It cannot be tangible. Zomato, you look at them. They have raised a lot of money. 5 years survey is there. So they have to make that business model profitable. But how much profitable? Do once someone care today that retail investor has paid his all debt of the future investors? So that's a standard thing. Today you completely see on LinkedIn, any media, Vijay Shekhar Sharma, he has done this thing bad, that thing bad. Boss, he has got his money back. He has got his investors' money back. Now he has to work for that market capital, what market cap he was having earlier. Now he has enough time to do it. But what is the valuation he has clocked? Does that business make sense to have that valuation? No, but people perceive that. So it is intangible value you are creating. Then you are an entrepreneur, then you are a startup. Understand that fundamental difference and you need to have that clarity on day one. भाई मैं क्या बना रहा हूँ? मैं धंधा बना रहा हूँ तो यार मेरे को फिर profitability पहले दिन चाहिए. I need that positive cash flow. And if not on the first day, then I should be well prepared कि 6 महीने बाद क्या होने वाला है. So I believe a fundamental question when any young generation is getting into a business who are first time generation business, they fail here. They 100% failure. If you are already a first generation business, your father or your grandfather started, then they won't let you do this. They exactly know how cash flow works. That's the reason they are successful. But your first time generation business, then please understand basic understanding of cash flow. Don't earn hard. Don't burn hard-earned money. Zomato did not burn his own money. Vijay Shekhar Sharma didn't burn his own money. Neither Baijo is burning money. Nor Ola, anyone. That's a VC money. VC is sitting there with tons of cash. Just bring that presentable idea which can change consumer behavior and create an intangible value. If that intangible value is getting created, then enter into the other part of the game. So I asked this first set, am I getting into a business where positive cash flow is important? Am I getting into a startup where burn is required because I cannot sustain the game? If I am getting into a startup where burn is required, then do I have the investment backing? If no, then do I have any investment banker in touch with me who can help me to raise the fund? What happens if I don't raise the fund? Have these all calculations made and then get into a business. That would be my sincere advice.
Your question was Bollywood gets a lot of attention.
Yeah. And what values should a person have to pursue entrepreneurship?
pursue entrepreneurship. Okay. Well, I'll begin by addressing some points that Sumit made. I mean, he's very right that we live in some sort of valuation bubble where this intangible is given so much credit in terms of what it's worth that it's, I don't know Zepto, but I read this about Dunzo, that Dunzo is worth some ridiculous amount and they made 50 crores in revenue last year. That's paltry, that's not how it should be. Of course, your valuation is a function of your revenue, but when your revenue is 50 crores and you have, I believe, over $100 million in investments from Google, something is going wrong. That also means that every discount you get on Swiggy or Dunzo, Zomato, Zepto is actually us getting money back from the VC. We are burning VC funds to subsidize our costs. Now, that may not necessarily be a bad thing because these VCs aren't poor by any measure. They have the money to throw around. But at what cost? They call it a customer acquisition cost, right, a CAC. How long can that go on? Do we live in an era where eventually this CAC budget will run dry? Eventually positive cash flow does become paramount? Shouldn't it already be? I know there's a, मेरे घर के बगल में दुकान है, kirana shop. That guy is positive cash flow. His family has been positive cash flow for the past 35 years that they've been running the shop. Zomato has not shown a quarter of profit in 10 years. Delivery has no actual path, has no actual end at profitability. Yet delivery is valued at $1 billion and my local dukaan is not. I don't think they should be valued at $1 billion, my local kirana store that is. But maybe some reality has to set in at some point. Maybe we need to consider what value is actually being added, the tangible contribution rather than just the intangible.
How does this perceived value is looked at? There are cases where you generate lifetime revenue from the same venture. Then it makes sense to spend thousands of crores on a quality.
Subscription values.
For example, Netflix. Take an example of Netflix. So, take an example of Netflix. I'll give you some examples. You have seen startup game in every sector, but I'll tell you exact sector where you get a customer acquisition cost. Number one is e-com, food-com or quick-com. That is the number one. Let us understand the behavior of our parents. For example, my parent goes out of the home. He'll check the price of rice at one store. He'll check the price of pulses at that store. He'll check the price of each fucking thing what he wants to buy. And he will he had time to do it. His job was allowing him to do it, and there was a sense of pride doing it. Do we do that? Do we do that? Honestly, don't. We don't have time. Do we even negotiate with the bhaji wala, sabji wala? We don't. Now, if this is the behavior of you and me, to my platform Zepto, then you are going to continuously order 100 rupee a day, 3,000 rupee a month, 36,000 rupee a year, and 3,60,000 rupee in 10 years. That's a straight calculation. And then I'll not stop only by earning that money with you. I will start selling and upselling and cross-selling with you. If you have a bet, you are anyway spending 3K. I'll supply that. Probably the things which catches eye, sugar, rice, wheat, these are always sold cheap. But do they give discounts on the branded labels? No. That's where they make money. When they launch their own labels, that's where they will make money. So, food-com, quick-com. Now, let us talk about food-com. Does Zomato gives you discount today? No, it's the restaurant who is giving. Then Zomato has a clear-cut business model. Was straight away 25% commission on the order what you are ordering. It's a straight profit. Where are they bleeding? They are bleeding on delivery.
That is the problem.
That's not exactly right though. So I'll give you an example. If you get on Swiggy, when you get 100, there's a 60% off, right? Swiggy, which I'm sure many people have seen. I've certainly ordered on it.
Yeah.
Out of the 120 bucks worth of discount that you get, 80 comes from the restaurant, but 40 comes from Swiggy. Now these numbers vary in general.
So exactly, this problem is, for example, there are two algorithms what Foodcom delivers. First thing is the searched item. If you go and search Behruz biryani, that is 40 bucks which Behruz will give you. Because that item...
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about applying a discount.
Swiggy, yeah, I'm saying that Swiggy will give you 40 rupees for buying Behruz. Because you went extra mile, searched that product. Now Swiggy compensates you for this behavior. Because you came on my platform and spurred specific brand.
Even for coupon codes. When you
now coupon codes, yes. Coupon codes also I'm saying. Coupon codes, there are different algorithms. You even see their PNL. Their PNL is not burning money on CAC anymore now. They're not burning money there. It is the burn which is happening at the delivery. It is very expensive. Human manpower is expensive in nature. Every delivery is costing more than 300 bucks and it gets loaded in all the top of them. So that is the problem. That is the real problem this Foodcom is having. And now it is a clear indication to the market of Quickcom. Delivery cost, whomsoever is going to control is going to be the game changer. He is going to be the winner. Where Zepto got valued? Because that space was already crowded. Dunzo had all the infrastructure in place. But why Zepto got funded? Zepto said, 10 minutes, I will open dark stores everywhere. That was the business disruption what Zepto did. Zepto did was, I don't need to have a hub and spoke model of delivery. I will open dark store in every corner of the country and a dark store can serve 3 kilometers. And how do he reduce the control is, he is delivering on cycle. And now he's shifting to e-cycle. Recently I supplied 200 cycles to them. So I met the founder. So that was a particular discussion what we had. So e-cycle is going to reduce the delivery cost. So delivery cost is something which is a profitability. Profitability is not the problem, let's be honest. Profitability is not at all a concern. Concern is what? Who is going to win the rest for the rest of their life? I'll give you one more example. Foodcom I talked, Quickcom I talked about e-com. Now do you go and check the prices except Flipkart and Amazon on any other platforms? No. Does Amazon offers you discount on its own? No. Who is offering? I am offering. I am offering discounts on you. Then what? They have made that journey clear. Abhi Flipkart, Amazon, do hi bacha. Snapdeal pe jate ho kya? How many times you have opened the Snapdeal? No. And how much business that $1 billion, $1 billion rupee, 100 crores? That is the business they want to do in big billion days? Huge business. They are burning elsewhere. And that is totally fine with them. Last but not the least, fintech. Fintech is the place where you will burn a lot because that transaction you are going to use every day. Every day you are going to go to the mobile application and there are tons of things. What was Paytm earlier? Pay through mobile. That is what the thing was. And what is that? What are they doing? They are selling everything. I am booking my flight tickets on Paytm today. Now is that not 20% commission is going to get earned out of it? What was the chance you would have earned other way around? Okay, when Paytm was there, PhonePe also come up with a similar concept and different things. One or two people will always be there. It is simple as that.
That's the problem because there are so many. Paytm has PhonePe, Google Pay, and then there are tons of other BNPL options. The problem here becomes the barrier to entry is so low that
barrier to entry is very high in fintech.
Barrier to in fintech in general, but the barrier to entry to be a payment gateway is nearly nothing.
No, but payment gateway, if you consider the cost of development, is very high.
The barrier to entry to become a mall like Paytm has is high, but the barrier to entry to just become a payment gateway is not. The problem still being that the problem I'm trying to point out is that Paytm again has no path to profitability.
That is actually not even required for it, to be honest.
No, it's not required for high valuation, but it is required for a long-term company.
Business sustenance, here's the thing. Any startup you pick it up, any startup you name, is anyone working on profitability today? Why?
Should they be?
Why they are not working? That should be answered first.
Should it not be the concern of all founders whether they can ever one day turn a profit and return dividends?
If investment is very difficult to get. I just closed it. I have signed more than 800 pages. I literally did agreement they have taken. What if I die? They have taken my insurance also. So don't consider investments are easy. Investments are really tedious. I have never ever gone through so much of documentation in my life. In my entire life. It's not investments are not. That also is something which understanding has to be very clear. VC spends money when he sees value. You cannot make money. Let me tell you, what is the Apple valuation today? Any guess?
2.5 trillion. Market cap is
market cap. That's a valuation. $1 trillion. India didn't have that much of GDP until 5 years back. $1 trillion.
$2.5 trillion.
$1 trillion economy, man. What are you kidding me? That is the valuation of that company. What is the valuation of Tesla today? Let me be very clear. The only way you can make money is by valuation, brand value. Yesterday, Bisleri got sold. Yesterday, Bisleri got sold. How much value?
800 crores. But again,
7,000 crores.
The point still being that Tesla has fallen 50% this year.
That's fine. That is retail investors' money.
No, don't you think that after a point, it just castles in the air?
No, it doesn't. Because, tell me one thing.
Tesla is worth 100% more than it is today.
No, valuation works very differently. How does valuation will look like? Who is pumping the valuation? Who is putting money? Money is put by VCs to a point where either M&A or a public listing. There are only two ways this exit can happen. Either you get acquired by a bigger giant like Google. Google acquires anything and everything right away, right? Get an example of Bisleri, 7,000 crores. $1 billion, 7,000 crores is the valuation what he has demanded for and Tata has agreed for. Now let us understand this use case. If Tata wants to build a mineral water business, how much money they will take? कितना लगेगा पैसा मोटा मोटी? Let's talk. 2-5 करोड़ रुपए? लगेगा क्या 2-5 करोड़ रुपए से भी ज़्यादा? Every नुक्कड़ कॉर्नर पे एक मिनरल वाटर की बोतल बनती है. Yes or no? Then making a business would have been more sense for Tata, right? Making a business would have been any day easier decision कि मैं खुद का धंधा बना लेता हूँ. हिमालयन है ना उसके पास. हिमालयन किसका प्रोडक्ट है? हिमालयन तो टाटा का ही प्रोडक्ट है. मिनरल वाटर में है ना वो. If he is in mineral water business already, why is he paying for 7,000 crores to business? That's brand value. And what is share market today? You are betting on Infosys. Yes or no? What Infosys profitability you are looking at? Some idiot says, boss यार ये क्वार्टर में धंधा अच्छा है, धक 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 सब बेचना चालू कर देते हैं. क्या समझ में आता है किसको? So this all businesses, if you see, the profitability is a myth. Profitability, is it required to sustain the business? Definitely yes. If profitability is not there in the business, nobody would enter in that business. So if you're talking about VCs, they are the smartest people on planet then. If they are putting in money and that
makes us the stupidest. So when Paytm, for example, has no path to profitability, and you're right about VCs exiting either through other VCs Paytm, or they exit through a public IPO, right? What happens with Paytm is they go IPO at 2,000 rupees. Today their stock trades at 400 and something rupees. They lost 75% of the valuation. Just as an aside, the Canadian pension fund had invested some 6,000 odd crores in this company. Wiped out. 75% of 6,000 crores wiped out in a pension fund. That loss was not borne by the VCs. They made fat exits. Their founders made fat exits. Got those losses? You and I.
Exactly.
People in the public. When it becomes the initial public offering.
So,
the fools
is this changing? Is this changing? It will not change. You and I should still go and change. Open the share market.
But it
Why?
should.
I'll tell you how it will not change. Because, see, profitability is easy thing to do. Profitability is a problem in the business only when you don't have a business model. If you have a business model in place, then only there are two things. The first thing is the valuation what you're asking for might be too high. That can be a problem. There are incidences. You open all the US listings, 60% of the listings are negative. 60%. But still you and I invest in there. There is a reason to it. Because let's be very honest. If I and you would have purchased Nifty or Sensex 10 years back, what would have been your and my valuation today? You know for a matter of fact, out of 10, 9 people will go bad. That's how investment works. And that's how investment will continue to work. So out of 8-9 companies are going to be failures. So Paytm could be one of the failures? Yes, it can be. But I believe profitability to achieve for particular Paytm will not be a tough task for any fintech for that matter. Even if they go bankrupt, that's fine. Let's understand they go bankrupt. Will people stop investing? No. I'll tell you example. You know Pune's real estate market, right? We are aware of Pune's real estate market, right? Now KP rates are stagnant. impact falling down. Correct? Are people stopping investing into real estate? They're considering one of the bad investment. That's fine. But will real estate as an investment portfolio will go ever wrong? No. Why? Because you have limited planet. You have limited space. So few places may go wrong. But as a sector, will it go synced? No. That's how investment sector is also. So profitability definitely required. If profitability is missing, no VC will look at your balance sheet at all. वो तो डेक फाड़ के फेंक देगा, वो डेक ही नहीं देखेगा, मेरा पिच डेक ही नहीं देखेगा. तो प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी तो 100% चाहिए, बट वो यूटिलाइजेशन कहाँ से करना है? दैट इज फॉर द सस्टेनेबिलिटी ऑफ द बिजनेस. एक्सपेंशन के लिए पैसा चाहिए. पैसा कहाँ लगता है? लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड. आई एम पेटीएम, अब मेरा यूपीआई तो ढंग से चल रहा है ना. अब मेरे को सिक्योरिटी मेंटेनेंस का ही पैसा चाहिए. अब मेरे को डेवलपर क्यों चाहिए? डेवलपर क्यों चाहिए मुझे? क्यों इतने डेवलपर लग के रखे मैंने 10-10 हज़ार? सिंपल क्वेश्चन, राइट? मेरा धंधा यूपीआई है. आई ओपन पेटीएम, आई स्कैन कोड्स, आई पे मनी. If required, I may go and buy some discounts on Central. I may go and buy some flight tickets. That rarely happens. That's fine. I pay electricity bill. That what is that? Total 20,000 bucket is our per month expense. 2-5 हज़ार रुपये electricity bill, 2-5 हज़ार रुपये your phone bill, 2-3,000 rupees of your some other expenses of gas connection or something. All of this stuff, right? That's what your complete budget is. That's what you're going to spend. You're not going to spend more than that. That is what people are trying to capture, that total market of 20,000 rupees, but multiply that by 1.35 billion population in the country. That's your top line. It's huge. It's huge. So you need that development team today because of expansion. If I need to attain profitability today, I'll shut. Problems to sort out. I'm just giving a broad level example. They have different problems in sorted out. They're in big trouble. That's fine. That's a different problem they are solving. But I'm just trying. Any profitability, if you're not having in the business bad model, or you're spending money on expansion. Only two cases where Byju's failed. Overhyped valuation. Their own investors, 75% their valuation went down. That's what it is happening, which will happen. Out of 10 companies, 6 of Zerodha. Yes or no? What is the example of Zerodha?
Good, these are both excellent examples. And they're both profitable.
$1 billion in revenue. Zoho.
I'll just make, he described what earlier was that Zoho, what you were talking about earlier about VCs and investments not being made in a company that has no either profitability or past profitability. It's called a greater fool theory, I'm sure you've heard of. Right? So as long as there is a greater fool than you somewhere, your investment is safe. Safe. Because you'll pass it along and you'll make your money back. True. The entire world economy then is balanced precariously on the greater fool theory, and the second principle being it's worth what anybody will pay for it.
Very true.
Something is only worth that much. The minute you lose, so this pen, for example, could be worth $1 billion, or it could be worth nothing. It depends.
Nothing. Totally
on what somebody pays for it. That becomes the problem with valuations.
So we can have Q&A session from the audience. Even from the audience.
One thing that really stood out was you said you were a lawyer. So how was that transition from being a lawyer to an entrepreneur?
Good question. Often asked. I described it briefly. So in my last year of law, I founded Indus Dictum, a portal that published thoughts from thought leaders, from experts in their fields, real professionals. These are people who know the meat of the matter, they understand it. Managing a news publication is not easy. If you want to do an MBA, I recommend just running a startup. There is no better MBA for you in the world than running your own business. Starting from scratch, no $1 million loan from my father in 1970 like Donald Trump did. Start from zero, start from nothing. when I started Indus Dictum over a couple of years, I picked up new skills, lots of coding skills, lots of skills that I was never taught in economics or in law. And they helped me to end up founding a company that ultimately became a marketing and branding consultancy. It's not a straight path. From the outside, it may not even be an obvious path. From the inside, it makes sense. I think, to put it more quickly, what Steve Jobs, the dots only connect in hindsight. Sorry.
Anyone from the backside? Any question?
It's quite a debate about expansion and having profitability and stuff. So I'm working on a bootstrap model. So I did have a discussion with a couple of VCs. So they were of the mind that before getting to the version 2 of the product, service, whatever I'm building, I should venture, first expand the service and then move out and build on version 2. I first should expand the version 1 itself and then think of expanding the version 2 rather than doing the other way around, launching the version 2 in smaller areas. So, in your experiences, how things actually work? Should we upgrade to version 2 first, or should we expand? And does doing both in a hybrid mode make sense?
Hybrid will make much more sense because you are generating it. You are the father of that particular idea. You probably will understand how it functions. But looking at the external, probably I need to invest in a company. My biggest worry would be, will it survive? Will it be validated? So I will always need for the validation first. So service 1 to service 2. Giving you an example, I am moving from e-bike to health tech. My first 2 years was e-bike journey and I am moving to health tech now. I am going to give an ecosystem of health services built around the e-bike. So this is my business pitch deck, what I propose. If I had not had 170 crores of revenue on e-bike, health tech would have never got funded. So he needs validation because e-bike चलता है, ये business है, तो उसकी और एक services में पैसा डालना sense बनता है क्या? Now, if that version 1, what you have built, product or service, cannot be validated. For example, you are trying to build a smartphone without internet. It will never work. So don't listen to your VCs. You will always know, boss, ये with version 1 तो घंटा नहीं चलेगा ये. If I give a smartphone SIM card नहीं डाल सकते तो Bluetooth पे किससे बात करूँगा मैं? Simple as that. तो if you believe कि यार first version validate होने के लिए enough मेरे पास resources नहीं है, तो go all out on version 2 and validate version 2 because people will come here. They are more hungry than you to fund a business. That's their core model to fund. So they will always try to hunt you. So work on core things which will help you to validate the thoughts. Simple. Hybrid will work best if you believe version 1 can have a validation, then working on 2 at the same time, version 1 validation happening on a service. That will always work. But if you believe version 1 is not sufficient enough to go in the market, then go isolation, just focus on product or service what you're trying to build. Make sure at least a test marketing should accept it. And then go for VCs.
Okay, sir. I think they have got their answers.
Let them ask the questions.
As you were having a case conversation, let's say a discussion. So I have a question. Suppose I start a company tomorrow. Should I focus on establishing a brand by burning my cash through customer acquisition and building a brand value? Or should I focus purely on providing value and profit making?
See, who always makes money is brand, that's given. There is no other way. For example, I paid 1,30,000 for this phone. This is perceived value and not manufacturing value. So, any business can make money, business, not the investors, through only and only profitability. There's no getaway to it. Now, in order to achieve this profitability, I'm paying 40,000 for this watch. Makes sense? No. But this is a perceived value for me. Huh? That's perceived value, right? Perceived value. That, yeah, I am okay. Even if it is 70k, I'll pay. Now, if Samsung had the similar watch, would I have paid for that much? So, you answered your question. So, if you want to start a business which it can generate value, that's the most profitable way. But to earn that profitability, then this journey will be very difficult. To innovate. And innovation happens, then only people will trust you. Some disruptive model. You see, Zepto, we and you talking about they deliver 10 minutes model here. जब बड़े लोग 2 घंटे में कर रहे थे. मतलब बिग बास्केट ने 2 घंटे की डिलीवरी चालू की, दैट वाज समथिंग डिस्ट्रप्शन फॉर देम. ये बंदा आया 10 मिनट में करूँगा बोला. सही बात है ना यार, तू कहाँ 2 घंटे की बात कर रहा है? उसमें भी तू टेम्पो लेके जाएगा, वहाँ पे माल भरेगा, वापस लेके आएगा. ही इज़ वर्किंग ऑन अ वेस्टेज ऑफ 12%. Zepto सेट 5% वेस्टेज, 7% का स्ट्रेट प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी है. तो डिपेंड करता है व्हाट बिजनेस यू आर ट्राइंग. बट विदाउट प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी देयर इज नो बिजनेस. ऑब्वियसली देयर विल बी स्कैमस्टर्स, स्कैम वो तो हर जगह होंगे. बट सस्टेनेबल धंधा करना है तो प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी. बट ब्रांड एंड प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी.
Guys, if you have any question, any more question?
Can I, sorry, I'd like to hear his question, but can I address this gentleman's question? I think, so we hear a lot about unicorns. What you don't hear about are cockroaches. What you want to be really in the business world, if you want to survive forever, be a cockroach. Cockroaches survive nuclear blasts, they survive all sorts of bombs, right? Unicorns don't. When you have a pandemic the next time, it's not the unicorns that are going to survive, it's the cockroaches. Profitable businesses make it forever, even if they only make 2% of profit. But businesses that aren't built on profit, businesses that are built on some imaginary numbers, on some path to profitability which lies at a time when technology exists that may not even be possible or is only theoretical, is not really a business. That's when you start playing into the greater fool theory. If you have a profitable business, that is 100 times more likely to survive than one that is on some future path to profitability. Not to say that you have to start out profitable, but that you have to have a certain path. That's how you become a cockroach. And eventually the world will turn around and realize that cockroaches are really what deserve the billion-dollar valuations and turn them into unicorns.
So now we are moving to our next part of the session, which is the rapid fire question. So, starting with Ankur sir. So, do you remember your first working place?
Sorry, do I?
First working place.
What about it?
Do you remember your first working place?
Oh yeah, sure. It depends. Do you mean by working where I earned money?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a football coach in 8th standard. So my workplace was a football ground. My coach was absolutely brilliant. It was actually brothers. If you guys are from Pura, then you may have heard of Kafandra. My salary was 800 rupees a month. That much, yeah. So I started working very early. My work environment was brilliant. No bean bags, no pool table, but I had great fun. And I got to fraternize with people of my own age.
Second question. It's a rapid fire, sir.
Okay, yeah.
Sir, your first customer.
My first customer? Oh, my first sale was at another company called Andural Retail, which is it's an 18 plus matter. But effectively we sold apparel, let's just call it that, online. So my first customer was a B2B in South Africa. I do remember that way.
If you are given a chance to rate your first pitch deck, how would you rate it? Out of 10?
Out of 10? 10 being the best.
Yeah.
Okay. 6, I never actually showed it to anyone. I have never ever sought investment, but I did try to make a pitch deck.
Number of members in your founding team?
For the current company?
The initial one.
So with Indus Dictum, I wasn't really planning to form a company, so it was just one. For Piggy Bank, I may have skipped this along the way, but we also ran a cloud kitchen actually. It was on Swiggy and Zomato. That's why you know how the discounts were. There we had 2 founders, me and a partner, And again at Dictum Media, just one.
Sir, when did you decide to scale your business?
Piggy bank scaled just on its own. Dictum Media really picked up during the pandemic when other businesses were closing down or going digital. We were already there. We were ahead of the curve. And I don't mean to sound insensitive, but the pandemic actually helped us, which is terrible. It's not a good thing to say.
That's all for you. We will move on to Sumit sir. Sir, what's your first working place?
Yeah, Pune.
Do you remember your first customer?
Yeah, Neha Sharma. I was selling digital health insurance.
Okay. Same. Rate your first pitch deck.
Very bad. 1, 2.
1 out of 10?
Yeah?
1 out of 10?
Yeah. Oh, negative. Very bad. Pathetic.
Number of members in your founding team?
4.
And when did you decide to scale?
2020.
During pandemic?
Just before pandemic.
So this is all for you. We will have just introduction for our flagship event, the flagship event of the ECL IIT Bombay, which is E-Summit, which is going to happen on 28 and 29 January this year, 2023. It serves as a meeting grounds for corporates, startups, budding entrepreneurs and enthusiastic students from distinguished institutions across the country, giving the business community a social forum for interaction. So this is going to be happen at IIT Bombay campus on 28 and 29 January. I think there are some startups too which are going to participate in the E-Summit. You are all, also welcome to have participate in it. Now it's time to end the session, but before we wrap it up, I would like to call upon the stage Atharv Nima to present the memento to Sumit sir. Next, I would call upon Ravi Agarwal to present a memento to Ankur sir. Next, I would call upon Dr. A.V. Wagmare sir to present the memento to the entrepreneur sitting on the audience side. You can have it after this session. They will be there. Next, I would call Jatin Rawat to present memento to our next entrepreneur sitting in the audience side. Sir, we really had a great session today. I think the answers were more fierce than the questions.
That's all about startup.
and the discussion was too fierce. Yeah. The event was pretty insightful, and the answers to the questions will surely help budding entrepreneurs in excelling their startup. Who knows, the next unicorn is sitting within us. It might be one of the two of you. With this, it's time to wrap up. But remember, this is not the end. We have eSummit on 28 and 29 January 2023. The audience can have free dialogue now with all the entrepreneurs present, and I declare the wrap up.